Hey folks, welcome back to Pokémon Y. We're here in the Santaloon City Pokémon Center because this is a great place to start hunting for a particular Pokémon. What particular Pokémon might I be referring to? Well, X and Y have their own roaming legendary. And I know those two words, roaming legendary, are enough to put certain Pokemon veterans into epileptic fits, but it's manageable. Okay, it's not great, but it's manageable. The first wild encounter you have out in open grass after you beat the Elite Four will be one of the 3 legendary birds of Kanto. If you started with Chespin, it'll be Articuno. If it's Fennekin, it will be Zapdos, and if it's Froakie, it will be Moltres, and then it will immediately flee before you've had the opportunity to do anything. Can't choose a move, can't throw a ball, can't do anything whatsoever. And now the game is to find it like 9 more times, which is tedious and not all that much fun, honestly. Because as usual, for roaming legendary, it is really annoying to track down. I will do my best to explain a decent way of doing that, but I don't promise that it will be an enjoyable experience, because it wasn't for me. This is post-commentary, by the way. I had my microphone muted when I was doing this live. Not bitter at all. Not bitter at all. Anyway, once you run into the legendary bird for the first time, you can open up your Pokédex, turn to the National Pokédex section, and scroll down to the 140 area. That's about where the legendary birds are. There we go, 144 for Articuno. And then you can see on the map there, one of the routes over on the west coast is kind of flashing red like that. That means that that's where Articuno currently is. It will not stay there. By the time you get there, it will be long gone. And I know I'm talking to people who have probably tracked down roaming legendaries before. But basically, every time you change routes, so will Articuno, usually to an adjacent route. Sometimes it'll just fly all the way across the map, and I cannot figure out why. So what a lot of people do, myself included, is just flip back and forth between a route and a town. Santaloon is great for this. And then check if Articuno, or whichever bird, has moved to the route that you are on. And this one has not. It probably moved back and forth, like moved from Route 11 back to Route 11. And yeah, you just have to keep doing this. Now, there are 2 ways you can go about this. You can check the Pokédex manually each time, which is time consuming. You have to go through a lot of, not quite loading screens, but a lot of animations. It's slow. The other thing you can do, and this is actually better done on Route 20, or not on Route 22, but on Route 4, which is the other side of Santaloon, on the west side, connecting a little bit north, is just put up a rappel, run through the grass like once or twice, do a lap or 2, do the area transition back and forth, and then run back and forth through the grass again, and just repeat that. You don't have to go through as many screens, and if you have the rappel going, 1 or 2 passes through the grass will usually be enough for Articuno to show up if it is on that route. I don't know if it's actually faster than checking the Pokédex. It might be, but it does feel better. You do need to buy a lot of rappels for that, but you'll want rappels anyway. Now, I'm going to use a Pokemon Center as a convenient editing point, and meet you elsewhere once I've encountered Articuno enough times. Alright, so at this point, I have now encountered Articuno something like 10 times. I don't know, I didn't count. And you'll know that Articuno is ready to be captured for real when you check its location in the Pokédex. It is over there on that dot in the sea spirit's den. You'll remember we went there a long time ago, and it was empty, completely empty. Well, now it is the home of Articuno, or Zapdos or Moltres, depending on your starter choice. So, in order to go find Articuno, we are first going to have to remember how the heck Comarine City works. By the way, I flew to Comarine City using crafty editing powers. And then you're also going to need to bring something with Surf. Whether that's Lapras or something else, you're going to have to be able to surf over there. And I would recommend bringing some repels as well. And if you haven't cleared out Azure Bay before this, if you just ignored it during the actual course of your regular game, you're going to have to dodge some trainers probably. Or just wipe the floor with them, but they're going to be way under your level if you haven't taken care of them already. But yeah, all you gotta do is surf on over, and then get ready for the battle of your life. Which is kind of overselling it. But, anyway. So yep, it's that big cave over there. Just surf on over. Try to move in a relatively straight line, but avoid the rocks. It's really hard to navigate when you can't literally see anything. There's just water. There we go. And I would recommend saving outside, just because if you barrel on through like I did, whoopsie, there you go, battle time. I saved before I started this part of the recording, so don't worry, I wasn't about to lose a bunch of progress. Anyway, my go-to catching strategy is to paralyze early on with Nuzzle. And I mean, this is basically how I do all my capturing for anything in any Pokemon game. Paralyze it early on so that it's slow and might not be able to attack, and it is easier to catch. And then start whittling it down. And I have a secret whittling weapon on my on my side. But am I bringing it out now? Yes, I am. Longtime fans of this series will remember Sir Abraham made a cameo appearance at one point earlier, and off-screen did a whole lot in the Battle Chateau to earn me millions of Poké-Dollars. And Sir Abraham is great at catching things. Although it's not too great at taking Ice Beams, unfortunately. Now, I did equip Sir Abraham with the Absolite, allow him to Mega Evolve into Mega Absol, and I also used the TM for False Swipe. False Swipe being a very nifty move that basically allows you to not feint the opponent. Always leave them with at least one hit point. Now that said, that False Swipe didn't do as much damage as I wanted it to. So what I decided to do is Hyper Potion Sir Abraham in case Articuno decided to use another Ice Beam. And then Sir Abraham actually has Swords Dance on his side. And this is a very similar setup to what he had when he was taking on the Battle Chateau. Only difference is that he would have Shadow Claw instead of False Swipe, in addition to Psycho Cut and Night Slash as offensive moves. So my plan here, Swords Dance up to +6, and then False Swipe, and that will get Articuno down to 1 hit point and paralyzed, which is about the best catching conditions I can ask for. Now, a couple things to bear in mind here. Articuno, as you may have seen, does have Hail can use Hail, and Hail is a weather condition that will hurt all non-ice Pokemon for a little bit of damage each turn. Now Hail can run out, luckily, so that's a small mercy. It may occasionally use a turn to set up Hail rather than using Ice Beam or something. Ice Beam is the only offensive move it has, so that's something to look out for if your main catching Pokemon is for some reason weak to ice, which it might be. I don't know, I can't think of anything in particular that would be, but it's something to bear in mind. And it also has Reflect and Tailwind, which just Reflect just makes whittling it slower, and Tailwind I don't think matters at all, especially if you've paralyzed it. Anyway, now that I have it at 1 hit point and paralyzed, I have sent in Ava as kind of a wall to just sit there while I throw Dusk Balls. And Ava's a great choice here for a couple of reasons. 1, she resists Ice Beam. 2, she has leftovers. 3, she has the ability Ice Body, so she actually restores health in Hail rather than losing it or being neutral. And that means she's not going to take a lot of damage from Ice Beam, and she's going to heal it all back very, very quickly. And I can use a Hyper Potion if I really need to. And this is how it goes for a while. I throw Dusk Balls at Articuno, and Ava just sits there. For your benefit, I am going to jump ahead to when I catch it. Alright, the 10th Dusk Ball I use, Dusk Ball, not Desk Ball, is finally successful. Gotcha. And Articuno is added to my Pokédex and my PC. It's a legendary bird that is said to appear to doomed people who are lost in icy mountains. Well, not anymore. You're gonna be sitting in my Pokemon bank. But yeah, that's Articuno. On the whole, more annoying to catch than anything. The roaming system is just really not fun. I don't care for it at all. I do like the ambience in here, though. The water drops. And that takes care of the first legendary we are catching in this episode. There's one more that I want to find. And to do that, we need to fly. Well, we want to get to Pokemon Village, but we can't fly there directly, so we have to fly over to Snowbell. Now, pay close attention to that description. Pokemon live in hiding, but no one has ever found it. Specific Pokemon. Interesting. And now we need to head on over to the Pokemon Village. And to do that, we need to get through the Winding Woods. And you may remember, I am terrible at navigating the Winding Woods, so I'm gonna edit out that trip, and you will thank me for it. Alright, we're here in the Pokemon Village, and you may remember from the last time we were here, that cave used to have a person standing in front of it, blocking entrance, but now it is accessible, now that we have defeated the Pokemon League. If that setup seems familiar, and that familiarity is only reinforced by the fact that you have to surf up to it, and that it's kind of on the northern side of a cliff like this, yeah, the familiarity is definitely intentional, because in here, in the unknown dungeon, is an outcast, shunning the world by turning his back to the world that shunned him. This is everybody's favorite abomination, Mewtwo. We're gonna catch it. Now, Mewtwo is a fair bit more annoying to catch than Articuno, I would say, for a couple reasons that will become evident relatively soon. But my general strategy is gonna be pretty similar. Lead off with Nuzzle to paralyze it, try to get its health down, chuck Dusk Balls at it. Now, the thing to bear in mind here is that Mewtwo is a special attacker, which means if you have a special wall that can take hits from special attacker, that might actually be good to send in, kind of in the same role Ava was in against Articuno. And its two offensive moves are Psychic and Aura Sphere, so keep the typing of those moves in mind. There is a super cool, neat trick that I'll talk about a bit later. I didn't get to use it, but I had it on hand in case I needed it. Anyway, you may have just seen the most annoying thing about Mewtwo in this battle is that it has Recover. Recover being a move that allows Mewtwo to recover like half of its hit points, in just completely undoing any whittling that you might have done. Maybe you've false swiped it down to 1 hit point. No, now it's back up to 50%, and you have to false swipe it back down again. Isn't that great? Recover does have limited PP, but I don't know how many it has, like 10, 5, 10, I don't know. In my various attempts at catching Mewtwo, it never actually ran out of recovers. Again, if you have like a special wall or something, maybe you could waste its time enough that it actually uses them all up, but it doesn't use Recover every time it's low, it just uses it occasionally. So you can't reliably put it in a situation where it will use Recover in order to have it use up recovers. Also, accidentally almost ran. That would have been annoying. So yeah, you can see that Mewtwo is already being a bit of a butt. Now, back to the two moves that it has. You may remember from a few minutes ago that Sir Abraham is my main weakening agent when it comes to catching Pokemon, but Mewtwo has Aura Sphere, which is a powerful fighting type move, and Sir Abraham, being a dark type, is weak to fighting. And depending on the Mewtwo that you are fighting, and depending on your level, and blah 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 blah, I'm not talking about your situation, I'm talking about my situation. Depending on the Mewtwo I was fighting, it was sometimes able to one-shot Sir Abraham with an Aura Sphere. This one wasn't able to. It does get off an Aura Sphere, and Abraham manages to survive, which was surprising. But be aware of what you're bringing to this fight, because Mewtwo is strong. It is a strong Pokemon. You're gonna have to have something that can take a hit or two in order to survive against this thing. Anyway, very lucky with the AI and the paralysis in these last couple rounds, and managed to get Mewtwo down to 1 hit point. And then watch this. Sir Abraham actually manages to survive an Aura Sphere. That didn't happen on previous attempts. I was really, really surprised and really happy. And for the time being, anyway, Mewtwo was in prime capture condition. Gotcha. And then I got it on the first ball, which I was also not expecting. Not entirely unwelcome, but certainly surprising. Again, given that I had multiple failed attempts before this. Anywho, we all know Mewtwo. Pokemon created by recombining Mew's genes, depending on the lore that you follow. You know, it might have been just a natural birth that was experimented on after the fact. And it's said to have the most savage heart among Pokemon. Yeah, that's anti-Mewtwo propaganda that I will not stand for. It has been shunned, and it's reacting in the only way that it knows how. Give Mewtwo a chance. Leave Mewtwo alone. And that is Mewtwo down. Now, I did allude to a special strategy. Oh, by the way, after you catch it, it will leave behind a Mega Stone, either Mewtwo X or Mewtwo Y, depending on your version. Does exactly what you would expect. Now, I did allude to a special strategy that I didn't actually get to use in this battle, and I brought it along after several failed attempts because I thought I was being so smart. I brought along a Spiritomb. Now, Spiritomb, because it's part Ghost, is immune to Aura Sphere, and because it's part Dark, is immune to Psychic, which are the only offensive moves that this Mewtwo has. So you could accomplish the same thing with a Sableye, but with this Spiritomb, I would have been able to bring in someone that would not take damage from Mewtwo, and that would give me a lot more bargaining room for throwing balls at it. Didn't need to do it, which is cool. You know, I'm a little disappointed, but it means I, you know, managed to save myself some time and sanity. Anyway, that wraps up the legendary hunt for this episode. And there's only one episode left, folks. One episode left. At long last, it's coming to an end. Now, what could we possibly be saving for a final episode? Well, what else could it be but Terminus Cave? But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.